Hey, can Barron count to 10 yet? Can Jordan tie his shoes yet? If you have a kid, are these the kind of questions that people are usually asking you to try to gauge how well your kid's doing? Yes. Does anyone ever ask you, hey, that Barron, how's he doing on the schoolyard? How's he doing at recess? Or Jordan, can he start a conversation with his classmates? Is he at ease socially? Usually not. In this video, I'm gonna go through two things. Number one, I'm gonna go through a very interesting study that compares the importance of a child's social skills versus their academic skills and IQ. And then most importantly, at the end, I'm gonna go through three things that'll be good for you to know, but you'll also be able to teach your children tonight that will give them an advantage socially. A study just came out that looked at the social skill that kindergartners had. Think about the social skill when you're in kindergarten. That's pretty primitive social interaction. But it looked at how good children were socially in kindergarten and compared them to how successful they were by the time they were 25. Very interesting to think all the way back then. You can't even remember much about kindergarten, but even back then, it begins to have an important contribution in your success for life. Now, importantly, this study controlled for, just fancy term for remove the importance of the child's demographics, so where they came from, the family, ethnicity, all that stuff, and the academic proficiency and IQ. Because clearly, if you have a bunch of kids who are smart, they're gonna do better overall, if you look at big numbers, than kids who aren't smart. So it backed all of that out, and they found a significant correlation between the social skills that you have. So the study stops right there. And it says, okay, cool, we know that. What can we do about these things? That's one of the things that always bothers me about studies is so often they point to these things and they'll say, hey, you can be more healthy and you can live longer if you have more friends. Well, what if you don't know how to do that? So what do you do if your child, maybe they aren't that good at recess. Maybe they don't have that many friends. Maybe they're not that comfortable. You know, it's still early at kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. But what can you do as a parent to give them an advantage, to help them be successful in these areas? So one of the most important factors of what they looked at when assessing those kids' social ability was how well they play with others. There were four others that I didn't think were as important. How well a child plays with others is kind of a cornerstone of their social ability that will be very similar in these other aspects, more granular aspects they were looking at. So let's look at that, how well they play with others. So what do you tell your kid in kindergarten? Hey, are you finding people in recess to play with? Don't twiddle your thumbs, be sure you get involved with the other kids. They're trying to understand how a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. They're not thinking at that level. So what you need to do as a parent is teach them the exact things they need to say and role play it. So what do they need to say? Doesn't have to be very highbrow. You see a kid with a kickball, you go up to him. Hey, do you want to play kickball? Do you want to kick the ball around? Do you want to go play on the swing set? Do you want to go run around? Do you want to go look at that there? Sit down with them and have them approach you and ask if they want to do those things. Very easy to us, but to them, even if you just give them three, hey, if a kid has a ball, go over there and ask him if he wants to kick the ball around. If he has a football, ask if he wants to throw it around. If he doesn't have anything, ask if he wants to go check something out over there and run around, right? Three things, very easy, but have him do that over and over until he's completely comfortable doing that. That's step number one. Number two, when kids are young, they're trying to realize the extent of their influence and power socially. Kids aren't always, I think you'd agree with me, aren't always the nicest. They want to learn what they can do, what impact they can have on other people. And sometimes that's being very nasty. So every once in a while, depending on how you approach and depending on how you go up, you say, hey, so you got that ball. Do you want to kick it around? What's the kid going to say? No. Very realistic. If your kid doesn't know how to deal with that, they could be like, hey, Dad, dude, nobody wants to play with me. Nobody likes me. I asked Billy and he said no. He was really rude about it. So what you need to do then is teach to push through one pushback, one piece of resistance. So you teach your kid, hey, it's normal to play. You know, these kids are going to be wild. You never can anticipate what they're going to do. But if they say no once, stick at it, say one more time, hey, come on, you got the ball. It'll be fun. Let's go kick it around right here. Very confident. Teach him that it is okay to ask those questions. It's okay to assume that somebody else wants to play with you, because if you don't teach that part, then they may think, what was my dad teaching me? First two people I talked to said no when they were rude. You need to teach him that that's okay. And then that confidence that he has, that he projects on the other kid is more likely to be like, okay, yeah, let's play it, let's kick it around. Now, the third thing you need to teach is if they continue to be nasty and they say, no, it's my ball, I don't want to play with you, go away. You need to teach them that that's okay, but then distance the importance of that. So you don't want the kid to feel like they got rejected and nobody likes them. You want to have the same kind of conversation, clearly dumbed down, that I'm having with you right now. Listen, kids are just trying to learn how to be mean. His brother may have did that to him earlier today. No big deal. All your goal is go up every recess. If you don't have a specific friend you play with all the time, go up to 3 people and ask them to play. And odds are at least one of them will play with you, and that's good. If one says yes and 2 says no, that's normal. That's just the way of the world. You're going to teach them some reality. That's one thing as a parent. I'm not a parent, but I know that one of the hardest things to do is to watch your child struggle and for people to be mean to them. But also, that's the real world. You don't want to isolate them from everything. And then all of a sudden, they're 17 years old and everything's been flying on a cloud and they get approached with the real world and they have to deal with it. That's when people fall off the deep end. So even though it's hard to watch them get rejected, teach them these tools that they can now have to perceive that rejection in the right light and to feel good about it all the same. Feel good about the fact that they took the initiative and they asked those 3 people to play in a way that you practiced. Now, if you as a parent wish that you had a little higher social skills or a little better understanding what's going around socially so you can coach your kid, you can talk about situations as he grows up, I've got a program called the Social Invincibility Program. You can touch or click up here to check it out, and it's going to do a really good job of getting you a broad understanding of what's going on around you socially, so you'll be able to understand social interaction in a way that most can't, and you'll be able to teach that to your kid. Do you like videos like this? I'd encourage you to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't seen this video right here about what to do when someone tries to talk over you, super frustrating, especially in the workplace, I'd encourage you to click here and check it out. I'll talk to you there.